It was the sound of the microphone dropping that stopped everything. Not a scream, not a shout, not even words spoken at first. Just the hollow, metallic clatter of a cordless mic hitting the stage floor at Greater Mount Zion Baptist Church. And the way that single sound traveled through 312 people seated in their Sunday finest. As if it had been amplified 1,000 times over. As if God himself had tapped a finger on the pulpit and said, "Be still." I remember the way the air changed. I have tried to find the right words for that moment, and the closest I have come is this. It felt like the temperature dropped inside a room that had no windows open. Like something invisible had walked through the center of the sanctuary, and everyone felt it at the same time. But no one could say what it was. The choir had been mid-song. Bless that wonderful name of Jesus. And the alto section simply stopped. Not all at once. One by one, until the last voice faded into silence, and the pianist's hands hung suspended above the keys, not yet touching them. Not yet sure if the song was over. Pastor Elwood Graves stopped mid-sentence. He had been standing at the podium with his reading glasses pushed up on his forehead, about to introduce the evening's honorees for the annual church gala. His mouth was open. The words simply did not come. He turned slowly. That slow turn that a man does when he senses something behind him that he does not fully want to face. And he looked out at the congregation. Every head had turned. I did not yet know where to look. My husband, Darnell, was seated to my left, his arm warm against mine, his good cologne still present in the air between us, the way it always was when he dressed up. I remember thinking how handsome he looked that evening. His dark suit pressed perfectly, his pocket square folded with the precision of a man who cares very much about how he appears to others. He had kissed my cheek when we sat down. I had smiled. I followed the eyes of the congregation to the left side of the room. The tables near the back, the ones dressed in white linen with the gold candelabras the hospitality committee had rented specially for the occasion. The women of the hospitality committee had worked for 6 weeks on this gala. I know, because I was one of them. I was the chair. She was standing beside her table. Her name was Brianna Whitfield, Darnell's secretary at the law firm where he had been a senior partner for 11 years. I had met her twice. Once at the firm's Christmas reception. Once at a charity golf event 2 summers prior. She was younger than me by perhaps 20 years. She was tall, composed, and she was wearing a sleeveless black dress that was elegant enough for the occasion, and fitted in a way that told you she had thought carefully about it. But none of that is what made the air change. What made the air change was what was resting at the base of her throat. Even from 20 feet away, even across the candlelit room, even through the shifting movement of 312 people turning at once, I knew it. I knew it the way you know your own heartbeat, the way you know the sound of your own name. It was a gold chain with a teardrop-shaped pendant set, with a single garnet stone, delicate vintage unmistakable. It was my necklace, my grandmother's necklace. The one I had reported missing to Darnell in February, 4 months before this night. The one I had turned our bedroom upside down looking for, the one Darnell had suggested. Gently, patiently, the way he did everything. Had probably been lost at the dry cleaners. Or maybe misplaced during the upstairs renovation. These things happen, baby. You know how you leave jewelry everywhere. I had believed him. My breath left my body the way it does when you walk outside. The cold hits you before you are ready. One slow exhale. And then nothing. My hands went cold from the palms outward to the fingertips. My feet, in those good heels I had bought for this exact night, locked to the floor beneath the table as if they had been poured in concrete. To my left, Darnell shifted in his seat. It was a small movement, barely a quarter inch. But I felt it, the way you feel a tremor in the earth before the ground actually moves. And when I turned to look at his face, I did not find what a husband's face is supposed to hold in a moment like that. I did not find shock or confusion, or even the guilty horror of a man caught off guard. I found calculation. His eyes were moving, quietly, quickly, to her, to me, to the pastor, to the room, measuring, accounting. Already writing the explanation in the back of his mind, the way you draft a closing argument before the case even ends. That is when I understood everything. From somewhere near the center of the congregation, a woman whose face I could not see, whose voice I would later not be able to identify, came one single word: Lord. One word, small and whole and complete, the way a prayer sometimes is. And somewhere close to the front, a child, one of the little ones from the children's ministry who had been allowed to stay for the first part of the gala, began to cry. Not loudly, the quiet, confused crying of a child who doesn't understand what has happened, but feels that something has. A young woman picked him up immediately, pressed his face to her shoulder, and carried him to the side door. The room watched her go. And then the room watched me. I need to tell you who I was before that night, so that you can understand the full weight of what that moment carried. I've been a member of Greater Mount Zion Baptist Church for 31 years. I joined as a young wife shortly after Darnell, and I married. We were 26 years old, newly settled in the neighborhood, freshly committed to building a life inside a community of faith. The church was smaller then. The old building on Clement Street, before the Capitol campaign, and the new construction. I remember the folding chairs. I remember the portable fans in the summer. I remember Pastor Graves' predecessor, the late Reverend Abner Holloway, who wore the same 3 suits in rotation for 12 years and preached like a man on fire every single Sunday. I grew up inside that church, in the way that a woman can grow up inside a community, even when she comes to it as an adult. I taught Sunday school for 14 years. I served on the hospitality committee for 9. I became its chair. 4 years ago, when Sister Odessa Beaumont stepped down due to her health, I organized the Christmas banquet, the Easter breakfast, the Women's Day program, the annual back-to-school drive for the surrounding neighborhood. I was the woman who knew where the extra tablecloths were stored. I was the woman who arrived 2 hours early and left 1 hour after everyone else. People called me First Lady, sometimes not as a formal title, because we are a Baptist church and not a pastor's wife situation, but as an affectionate designation, a term of respect. Darnell was a deacon, had been for 16 years. He sat on the finance committee. He helped with the building fund. He was the kind of man who shook every hand on the way out of service on Sunday morning, and remembered the names of every grandchild and every surgery and every answered prayer that was shared from the testimony corner. We were, by every visible measure, a pillar couple. That phrase, pillar couple, was used by Sister Ruth N. Cole at my surprise 60th birthday celebration 3 years prior. She had stood up at the fellowship hall with a glass of punch and said it aloud in front of 75 people, and everyone had applauded. Darnell had reached over and taken my hand. I had squeezed it. I'm telling you all of this, not to impress you. I am telling you so that you understand what was at stake in the room that night. Not just a marriage, not just a secret, a whole architecture of trust. 31 years of it. built pew by pew and service by service and potluck dinner by potluck dinner. And in one moment, standing 20 feet away from me in a sleeveless black dress, that architecture developed a crack that ran all the way to the foundation. The gala had been months in the making. The theme was a night of gratitude, chosen by the pastoral council to honor the church's 75th anniversary year. We were honoring 3 long-serving members with plaques. We had a catered dinner from a local Black-owned restaurant on 5th Street. We had a jazz ensemble from the youth ministry, young men in their 20s who played with a reverence and a precision that made the old mothers of the church close their eyes and sway. I had overseen the centerpieces myself, gold and cream, magnolia sprigs, votive candles, and glass holders. I had walked those tables the afternoon before the event, adjusting, straightening, making sure that every detail reflected the dignity of what we were celebrating. Brianna Whitfield had been invited. I later learned by Darnell. He had told me about it in passing, weeks before. That he had mentioned the gala to a few colleagues, supportive of the community. He had said, good for the firm's visibility in the neighborhood. I had not questioned it. Why would I? He'd done things like that before. He believed in integration, not racial integration, which was its own conversation. But the integration of his professional life and his church life. He was proud of both. I had always admired that about him. Or I had admired what I believed it meant about him. I sat across the table from Sister Laverne Dupree and her husband, Cedric, that evening Laverne. And I'd been close friends for 20 years. She was the one who had organized my birthday celebration. She was the first person I had called when my mother passed. She was, in the language of church women, my sister in Christ in the fullest and most literal emotional sense of that phrase. I remember that Laverne had been talking. Something about her granddaughter's recital. Something about a new recipe for sweet potato pie. And I remember that I was half listening. The way you do when the evening is going well, and the room is warm, and the food has been good, and there is no reason to be on full alert. And then the microphone dropped. Pastor Graves recovered first, because pastors are trained by decades of ministry and the mercies of the Holy Spirit to recover. He stepped away from the podium. He walked to the edge of the stage slowly. He looked out at the room with the kind of careful stillness that a shepherd uses when the flock is uncertain. And he said in a voice that was low, but carried to every corner, "Church, let us all take a breath." 312 people breathed. Brianna Whitfield had not moved. I will give her that whatever she was not a woman who flinched. She stood at her table, with her chin up and her hands at her sides, and she looked directly at the pastor. She did not look at me. She did not look at Darnell. She looked at the pastor, which told me that she understood, in that moment, where the authority in the room resided. Darnell had reached for my hand. I let him take it. Not because I wanted him to, not because some part of me still believed in him, but because I was thinking, because the part of me that had organized 31 years of church life, that had chaired committees and managed crisis, and smoothed over the complicated textures of congregational relationships, that part of me was very, very awake, and it was thinking clearly. I looked down at our clasped hands on the white linen tablecloth. His were warm, mine were stone cold. I raised my eyes and looked across the room at my necklace, my grandmother's necklace. The one she had worn to her own church for 40 years. The one she had pressed into my palm 2 months before she died, when I was 22 years old and sitting beside her hospital bed. She had said, This is for when you need to remember who you come from. The garnet had caught the candlelight from 20 feet away and gleamed the same deep red it had gleamed at her throat in every photograph I had ever seen of her. I knew what I needed to do. I stood up. Darnell's hand tightened on mine. A reflex, I think. More than an intention, I felt the pressure and I looked at him. One long, steady look, and I removed my hand from his with the measured deliberateness of a woman who has made a decision and is not negotiating it. I walked to the front of the room. I walked the way I've always walked in this church, with my back straight and my shoulders settled and my heels making the quiet, even sound that good shoes make on a well-maintained floor. People moved out of my way. I don't know if they knew what I was going to do. I don't think I fully knew, but they moved. And I walked. I picked up the microphone from where it had fallen at the foot of the stage. Pastor Graves took one step toward me, then stopped. He is a wise man. He's been my pastor for 19 of my 31 years at Greater Mount Zion. And if there is one thing Elwood Graves understands, it is the difference between a moment that requires intervention and a moment that requires witness. He stepped back. He folded his hands. He let me have the floor. I turned to face the congregation. 312 faces. Some I had known for 3 decades, some were newer members I was still learning. Some were guests of honorees, people who had never set foot in Greater Mount Zion before tonight, and would likely carry what happened here for the rest of their lives. I saw Laverne Dupree in the 3rd row with their hands clasped on the table in front of her, and her eyes wide and full and steady on me. I saw Cedric reach over and cover her hand with his. I saw the young mothers near the back, the ones who had carried the crying child out, now standing in the doorway, watching. I saw Darnell at our table, still in his chair, very still. I raised the microphone. My name is not important tonight. Most of you know it anyway. A quiet ripple moved through the room, not laughter, something more tender than that. Recognition. I want to speak to this church with respect and with honesty, because this church has always deserved both from me. 31 years I have sat in these pews. 31 years I have tried to serve this house with my whole heart. I have set these tables. I have planned these evenings. I have prayed in this room. Prayed hard, prayed faithfully, prayed the way a woman prays when she believes her life is built on solid ground. The room was absolutely silent. I lost something in February, a necklace. My grandmother's necklace, a gold chain, garnet pendant, vintage piece that cannot be replaced. I reported it missing. I was told it was probably lost. I accepted that. I paused. I turned my head very slowly toward the left side of the room. It was not lost. 312 people did not breathe. I am not going to make a scene in this house of God. That is not who I am, and it is not what this church deserves on a night we set aside for gratitude. But I am going to speak the truth, because truth is the only thing I have left to stand on right now. And it turns out that is enough. My voice did not shake. I want you to hear that clearly. My voice did not shake once. I know what my husband has been doing, I know with whom, and I know that what I see tonight, resting at the throat of a woman I welcomed into my professional world, is the final evidence I needed to stop doubting what I already knew in my bones. I heard a sound from Darnell's direction. I did not look at him. I am not asking for pity. I am not here to embarrass anyone beyond what has already been revealed. I am here because this church is my home, And the women in this room, the ones who have sat beside me, prayed beside me, brought me food when I was sick and flowers when I lost my mother. You deserve to hear the truth from my mouth, not as rumor, not as secondhand whisper, but direct with dignity. The way a woman tells the truth when she has decided that dignity belongs to her, and no one can take it. I lowered the microphone. That is all I have to say. I walked back to my table, picked up my evening bag, nodded once to Laverne, who had tears streaming down her face and was making no effort to stop them. And I walked out of the Greater Mount Zion Baptist Church Gala through the side exit, the same one the young mother had used when she carried the crying child out. The night air was warm for early spring. I stood on the sidewalk for a long moment by myself, and I breathed. What followed the gala did not unfold the way things unfold in stories where the heroine is triumphant by the next morning. It unfolded the way real life unfolds, slowly, painfully, with many days in between that had nothing cinematic about them. Days where I sat at my kitchen table in the early morning hours and asked God questions I was not sure I was ready to have answered. Days where I drove to the grocery store and sat in the parking lot for 20 minutes because I was not ready to be seen. Days where I slept in the guest room and heard Darnell moving around in the master bedroom and felt the particular grief of a woman who is mourning someone who is still alive and still in her house. He came to me the night after the gala. He came in that careful way that men come when they know the scaffolding has fallen, and they are trying to decide how much of the structure to claim. He sat across from me at the kitchen table, and he used words like complicated and lonely and disconnected, and he used them in sentences that were really designed to redirect the subject from what he had done to what we had lacked, which is a technique I recognized because I'm not a young woman, and I have lived long enough to know the difference between a confession and a negotiation. I let him finish. Then I said, "Darnell, I need to know about the necklace." A long silence. He said, "It was a gift." 2 words, 6 syllables, and the whole 31 years reshuffled themselves in my memory like a deck of cards being cut. And every memory I thought I knew acquired a new margin of doubt around its edges. I sat with that for a moment. My grandmother's necklace. You gave her my grandmother's necklace. He did not answer, which was its own answer. I'm not going to tell you everything that was said in that kitchen over the next 2 hours. Some of it is too private for testimony. Some of it is too painful for language. What I will tell you is that by the end of it, I had the full truth, not the partial truth that Darnell had been rationing out in the hopes that partial truth might be survivable, but the full version, with dates and durations and details that confirmed what my body had been telling me for longer than I had been willing to listen. It had been 2 years. Brianna Whitfield had not been a passing indiscretion. She had been a sustained relationship, nurtured alongside mine, parallel to mine, given the best hours of the weekday, the best attention of a man who then came home to me on evenings and weekends and performed the role of faithful husband with, I will admit, considerable skill. He'd given her my grandmother's necklace 8 months into the relationship. He told me he had found it in the pocket of his overcoat after I misplaced it. He had kept it, he said, because he didn't know how to explain how he had it. And then he had given it away because he thought it was beautiful. And he wanted her to have something beautiful. My grandmother's necklace. I did not raise my voice. I stood up from the kitchen table, went to the bedroom, and began to make a list. There is a particular kind of work that a woman does after marriage ends, not after the divorce, which is a legal proceeding, but after the marriage ends, which is a private, internal event that happens at a specific identifiable moment. For me, it was that kitchen table. For me, it was the word gift. The work is not dramatic. It is administrative and emotional and spiritual, and it takes much longer than anyone tells you it will take. I retained an attorney within the week, a woman named Sonia Abrams, who had been recommended to me by a friend of a friend, who had a calm face and a sharp mind, and who told me in our first meeting that what I had was not only a moral case, but a solid legal one, and that I should not be afraid to pursue what was fair. I was not afraid. I informed Pastor Graves directly. Before the church grapevine had time to build its own version of the story, I called him on a Monday morning, and I told him what I had told no one outside of Laverne and my attorney, that the marriage was over, that the reason was infidelity of a sustained nature, and that I was telling him pastor to congregants so that the church could handle its business, particularly regarding the deacon board, with accurate information rather than speculation. Pastor Graves listened. He prayed with me on the phone right then, the two of us, without ceremony or preparation. Just a pastor and a woman he had known for 19 years, asking God to hold her through what was coming. It is one of the things I am most grateful for from that season. Darnell was asked to step down from the deacon board pending the divorce. He did so without public contest, which I believe was the right choice. Not for my sake, but for the integrity of the ministry. I removed myself from the hospitality committee chairmanship temporarily, both because I needed the space, and because I did not think it was fair to bring my private grief into the 6 planning meetings that would happen before I was ready. Sister Odessa Beaumont, whose health had improved considerably, stepped back into chair. She called me herself to tell me she was doing it as an act of love, and that my chair would be waiting for me when I was ready. I cried on that phone call genuinely, fully. The way I had not allowed myself to cry in public at the gala, or in private in Darnell's presence. Alone in my living room on a Tuesday afternoon, holding the phone to my ear while Odessa said nothing, just breathe with me. I finally cried. The necklace came back to me through the divorce process. Sonia listed it specifically as personal property, with identifiable sentimental provenance. We documented it with a photograph my sister had taken of my grandmother wearing it at her church anniversary celebration in 1978. We had the jeweler's mark. We had the family history. Brianna Whitfield returned it without contest. I don't know what she felt when she took it off. I don't know what she knew about its history. Whether Darnell had told her it had belonged to someone, or whether he had presented it as something he had simply purchased. I have thought about that, and I have decided that it is not mine to carry. What belongs to me is the necklace, and the grandmother who gave it to me, and the memory of her hand pressing it into my palm. The day Sonia handed it back to me in her office, I sat quietly for a long moment and held it in both hands. It felt the same, small, warm, familiar. I put it on. I want to tell you about the Wednesday night when I went back. Not back to the marriage that was over, and I had made peace with the overness of it, in the steady, unglamorous way that peace actually arrives. Not all at once, but a small portion at a time, accumulating over weeks, until one morning, you realize you have enough of it to stand on. I went back to Wednesday night Bible study. I'd been absent for 11 weeks. People knew. Of course they knew. Greater Mount Zion is a church, which means it is also a community, which means that information moves through it with the efficiency of water finding level. By the time I walked back through those doors, everyone had their own version of what had happened and what I was feeling and what I would do next. I wore the necklace. I sat in my usual seat, third row from the left. On the aisle, I set my Bible in the seat beside me. And I folded my hands in my lap, and I waited. Laverne Dupree came in 2 minutes after me and sat down beside my Bible without moving it, just lifting it gently and setting it in her own lap. She didn't say anything. She reached over and squeezed my hand once, and then she opened her own Bible and was ready for service. That is the friendship of a lifetime. No speech, just presence. Pastor Graves opened the service with a scripture that I do not believe was chosen by accident. Isaiah 43, verse 18 and 19, "Do not remember the former things, nor consider the things of old. Behold, I am doing a new thing. Now it springs forth. Do you not perceive it?" I perceived it. I sat in that sanctuary, in my seat, with my grandmother's necklace at my throat and my best friend's hand still warm from where she had held mine. And I perceived it fully. I am sharing this story because there are women who need to hear it. Not because my story is unique. It is not what happened to me happens in churches and in marriages and in communities all across this country with a frequency that should trouble us all. It happens to women who have given decades of faithful service, who have set the tables and organized the programs and prayed the prayers and shown up when showing up cost them something. It happens to women who believed. What I want to say to those women, what I'm saying directly with my full voice, is this. The necklace came back. Not just the physical object, although that matters too, and I'm not going to pretend it doesn't. But the thing the necklace represents, the inheritance, the lineage, the identity of a woman who knows who she comes from. That was never actually taken. It was hidden for a season by someone who had no right to it. But it was always mine. You were always yours. The shame that attaches itself to a woman in this situation is borrowed shame. It belongs to the people who chose deception and wore it into a room where truth was eventually going to arrive. As it always does, truth has a way of finding its moment. It found its moment at a gala in front of 312 people. And when it did not come screaming. It came as a sound, a microphone dropping, a single word from a woman in the congregation, "Lord." And then it came as me, walking to the front of the room, speaking into that microphone, and telling the truth in the house where I had prayed. I am 63 years old. I live alone now, which took some getting used to. The house is quieter. I cook smaller portions. I have rearranged the furniture twice, which is something I could not do when Darnell's preferences had to be factored in. And I will not pretend that small freedom has not brought me a particular satisfaction. I returned to the hospitality committee chairmanship 8 months after the gala. I organized that year's Christmas banquet, and it was beautiful. Gold and deep burgundy pine centerpieces, a string quartet from the local conservatory. Sister Odessa sat at the head table, and when I brought her a plate, she looked up at me and said, "Baby, you are back." Not a question, a declaration. I said, "Yes, ma'am, I am." There is a mercy in things that cannot stay hidden. I did not feel that mercy on the night the microphone dropped. I did not feel it in my cold kitchen. A across the table. From a man, speaking the word gift. I did not feel it in the 11 Wednesday nights. I stayed home in the dark and wondered what shape my life would take from here. But I feel it now. God did not allow the truth to stay buried because he is cruel. He allowed it to surface because he is kind. Because a woman living inside a deception, even a woman who does not yet fully know the deception, is not living in the fullness of what she deserves. And what we deserve, those of us who have given our years and our energy and our grandmother's necklaces of faith to this life, what we deserve is to stand on solid ground. Even when the ground has to shift first before it steadies. Even when the steadying takes longer than we want. Even when we have to walk out of a side exit alone into warm spring air and simply breathe before we can begin again. The truth set me free. It was not gentle about it, but it was thorough, and I am still standing. Not over anyone, not in victory over any person, but intact, fully myself, restored to my own life. That is enough. That is more than enough. That is everything. If this story touched something in you, something you needed to hear today, please share it with a woman who might need it too. Leave a comment. Let us know you are here. Subscribe to this channel, because every week we come back with another true testimony from women who have walked through fire and come out with their dignity unbroken. You are not alone. You never were.